Sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, madam. Bama V.V. Menon is Deputy Dean of KRJ Healthcare University College, Malaysia. She has years of experience as pharmacist with pharmaceutical and clinical side and with cross-functional expertise in manufacturing of pharmaceutical and management of innovatory systems, especially for drugs and medical supplies. She obtained her master degree in clinical pharmacy from one of the oldest and highest ranking Cybergia University College of Medical Sciences in 2017. She has served at KRJ University College with renowned names and as director, advisor of Labs Club, KPJUC and Pharma's KPJUC. She is a member and lifetime member in Pharmacy Board and Malaysian Pharmaceutical Society. Specialties: she has wide range of research experience as principal investigator and research supervisor. She also published a good number of research articles in various science and PubMed indexed journals. And now ma'am is here to give the webinar on pharmacology inside sleep to slimness. Ma'am, please take over the session, ma'am.
Thank you. How do I address you, Dr. Nalini, is it?
Ma'am.
Professor Nalini, Dr. Nalini?
No, ma'am, I am assistant professor, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, Assistant Professor Nalini, for the kind introduction. A very good morning to the Principal and Dean of Faculty of Pharmacy of Chalapathy Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Professor Ramarao Garu, distinguished dignitaries of the Institute, Professor and HOD of the Department of Pharmacology, Professor Narendra Babu Ankim, staffs, beloved students, and all virtual viewers. I would like to thank Professor Narendra from the bottom of my heart for bestowing this beautiful opportunity to share my views and knowledge with all of you. I am a pharmacist with 21 years of experience in various pharmacy fields. I've had my fair share of experience in the manufacturing area, community pharmacy, private hospital, and finally, I ended up in the academia. So my passion is not limited to just pharmacy alone, but extends to healthy living concepts that can ensure happiness and good health. I'm also a yoga practitioner and a certified yoga master. So today I take pride in sharing information and knowledge about yet another important aspect of our healthy living, which is sleep. Sleep is often disregarded and something that people sweep under the carpet. It's something considered as the least of important aspect of life. Many of us here suffer the consequences of sleep deprivation without even realizing it. My topic for today is sleep to slimness. Now, we will see the connection between sleep and obesity. And hopefully by the end of the talk, many of you students as well as lecturers, staffs who love to sleep late will turn over a new leaf, all right? And let me give you some, pre-warning, because my talk is not going to be about medications that can be used to induce sleep or even maintain good sleep. My aim here is to discuss the mechanics of sleep itself so that you can understand what are the chemicals involved. It can be neurotransmitters, it can be hormones involved in providing good sleep. And hopefully with that, we can actually change a little bit our practices related to sleep so that we can all be healthy and all of us can manage our weight properly. All right, so you'll also see the link between obesity and sleep. Let me share my slides, yeah? Okay, can you guys see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, okay, that's great. So sleep to slimness. Now, sometimes you wonder, if it is that easy, then I will just sleep. Actually, just like eating, sleeping is an important part of our life, right? Many of us put it to the last, meaning if you have a list of activities to do for the day, what you probably will do is you will do everything but sleep. You will keep sleep as your last resort. And you sacrifice your sleep just to get all your tasks done. By doing that, little did we realize that, along the line, we have actually sacrificed a lot of things. Later, I'll share with you what are the detrimental effects of sleep deprivation to our human body and also how that affects our life. Yeah. Okay. Today, in this talk, we will see. Okay, I don't see my slide moving. Do you see? Can you see the second slide now? Please give me a feedback.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Doctor. All right, so the content of the talk will be introduction to sleep, a little bit about the role of sleep in our life, and then the missing link between sleep and obesity, something that people fail to connect. And the pharmacology of sleep here, you will see the important modulators, neurotransmitters, and hormones that actually govern the science behind sleep. Yeah. And I would like to end the talk with the 5 W's and 1 H on sleep itself. All right. Okay, some introduction to sleep. Now, sleep is a restorative process. Restorative means it's something like a reset, after your heavy activities of the day, after multitasking, after doing so many tasks in the day, performing your task as a lecturer, as a student, as a wife, as a mother. At the end of the day, you need to restore back your health. So this is something like a reset button. Not only does it play an important role in balancing out the psychological health, it also helps in emotional, physical, as well as spiritual health. So sleep is essential. Today, there are increasing evidences in terms of journal articles that actually suggest sleep deprivation is associated with many adverse health effects: obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and even many other cardiovascular diseases. The problem with the people today is we often link diet with obesity, but we fail to see the necessity of sleep. And thank you to the people who found bulbs. So today we have got longer nights. Okay, we don't depend on the sunlight anymore to tell us that it's already night. We can extend our nights to up to about 4 a.m., 5 a.m. As a lecturer, I always ask my students, what time do you sleep? Because sometimes they text me very late, so I ask them in class, what time do you sleep? And many of them, majority of them love to sleep at 4 o'clock. Okay, so I find that habit very detrimental to health. Yeah. Sleep is also a reversible recurring state of inactivity, meaning every single day you have about 6 to 8 hours of sleep. That is the inactive period of your whole body. And all multicellular animals do this. So it is actually a necessity, a functional necessity for all of us. So a laboratory study actually showed that while the rat is sleeping, its brain was actually very active, learning about the maze that it was running earlier. Now, how did they capture this? I'm not sure because I'm not a lab-based pharmacologist or something. But I do take a lot of interest in lab-related studies related to mice and rats because I think that these studies are so wonderful. And I think maybe in your institute as well, you can run studies that show how sleep-deprived rats behave, right? And you can actually go further into how important sleep can be to a person. And the difference between sleep and wakefulness, like now, is actually our ability to react to stimulus, right? To stimuli. You will notice that most of the time when you're asleep or someone is asleep, it's very difficult to wake them up. Yeah. But if you are awake, you'll be able to react to stimuli at once or immediately. So, role of sleep. Sleep actually provides you that quiet time or that inactive period, which allows your brain energy to restore. All right. It also allows for synapses to be built between neurons. And we know that it's important for memory and also learning process. That's why young children are asked to sleep on time. And the quality of the sleep is very important because they are actually growing. And the mental mental aspects are very important in academics. But the problem with us is, as we grow, we fail to realize that that same aspect applies to us as well. We need good sleep too. We need quality sleep too, so that our memory power will not dwindle. Our neurons will not degenerate. Now, another very important thing that occurs during sleep is the clearance of neural waste products through the glymphatic system. Yes, that is not an error in the spelling. It's actually glymphatic system. It is a system that is available in the brain that actually clears out all your neural waste. So imagine if you're not sleeping. So what happens to all those neural waste buildup? And as you know, waste buildup can actually become toxins. And these toxins can actually kill your neurons. All right. I hope the participants can mute. I can hear some voices at the back. All right. Growth hormone is also known to be secreted during sleep. And growth hormone is an essential hormone that actually repairs your tissues. It's not just necessary for young children to grow. Even us, the middle age, the elderly, everybody needs this growth hormone for the repair part of the periphery and also for restoration of immune system. So all this happens during sleep. So now you know how important is sleep, right? Now bridging the gap between sleep and obesity. Okay, so let's see. Over the years, you can see there's a rising pattern in sleep deprivation, similar to the rise of obesity, right? But nobody has actually wanted to come forward and make a very distinct connection between the two. But you cannot deny that they both are rising equally, you know. An extensive literature is actually able to link sleep duration and obesity. Now, maybe when we look at sleep, duration of sleep is the most easiest factor that we can link to obesity because it's easy to capture that data, sleep duration. Yeah. Now, there were studies done that concluded consistent increased risk of obesity seen among short sleepers in children and adults. This was done in 2008. And also, obesity usually manifests as obstructive sleep apnea in some people, right? So this actually causes sleep disturbances. So the connection is not like a direct connection. It's like the egg and the chicken and the egg. They both are intertwined very strongly. Yeah. A strong dose-response relationship also was found between obesity and OSA, okay, the obstructive sleep apnea, where a higher body mass index or BMI is actually associated with greater OSA severity. Now, apart from that, sleep quality can be affected by obesity with or without OSA. Okay. Now, some other theories related to obesity and the relationship with sleep is hedonic eating. I don't know whether you've heard of this word or phrase, hedonic eating. It's eating for pleasure rather than eating when you're hungry. So imagine you're awake up to 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning. What would you do after midnight? Usually, suddenly you start feeling hungry or you feel like you need to do something while doing your work. So you adopt eating habits after midnight. So this is seen in a lot of people. And if you live in a group of people and all of you are staying awake, then it becomes a peer pressure not to eat. You will definitely eat as a group, right? So hedonic eating also has become a fashion. Okay. And brain imaging data done in 2014, actually, this kind of data collected actually suggested that sleep restriction actually increased your central neuronal response to unhealthy food. It leads to binge eating, junk food eating, these kind of things. So this is the gap that we are seeing between sleep and obesity. Now, sometimes when you talk to obese people, one of the excuses that they often give you is, it's not related to my food. It's actually hormonal. When they say that, I'm not sure whether they really know that they're telling the truth or not. Because whether they like it or not, that is the truth. It is hormonal. But maybe they don't realize what hormone we're talking about. I'm not sure, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard about these two important hormones, leptin and ghrelin? Okay, now these hormones, leptin is an anti-obesity hormone. It's secreted by your adipose tissues. It is a signal for you to feel satiated or feel full and happy, and you don't have to eat anymore. It's like a stop button for eating. Whereas on the other hand, ghrelin is a hormone that is released in response to hunger. Usually, just before lunchtime, you get that severe hunger pang. That is thanks to ghrelin. That is the hormone that causes that hunger pang. All right. So, how does these hormones interact? The connection is when you are sleep deprived or when you restrict your sleeping hours, they actually disturb the regulation of appetite hormones, which are ghrelin and leptin. And what happens is restricted sleep actually increases your ghrelin release and decreases your leptin. So ghrelin comes into the picture, you will feel hungry definitely. All right. Sleep restriction also disturbs the other important hormone that deals with stress, which is your cortisol. Cortisol release actually will trigger eating behavior because it is a stress management hormone. And another way to look at how sleep and obesity is linked is the longer you stay awake, you are always triggered to snack. The habit of snacking will slowly come in. So studies have revealed how your signals from the brain actually are impacted when you do not get enough sleep, right? So lack of sleep or sleep deprivation actually triggers ghrelin, which increases your appetite. Now, 3 ways that your stress is connected to weight gain or obesity is that when you're stressed or when you're awake for long hours, your cortisol actually gets released and it excites certain central nucleus in your amygdala. Now, amygdala, as we know, is actually the emotional part of your brain. And it gives you a trigger factor for hedonic eating. That means you derive pleasure by eating things that you like. All right. And also it helps in the fat deposition, especially in the abdominal area. I would not say it's limited to the female gender alone. As you can see around us now, we have a lot of youngsters, male and female, both with larger circumference in the midriff, right? So this pattern of obesity is becoming more predominant, and people are failing to study the reason why they put on weight. Rather, they seem to manage it by resorting to asking others to understand why they are obese. That is something that's not fair. You actually have to study back why you're gaining weight unnecessarily and why the weight is deposited in certain areas, because they are all related to health. And it can actually cause a lot of health problems. So increased stress level actually triggers more cortisol. Now, another very important modulator of sleep, I'm not sure whether you've heard of this, it's adenosine. Now, adenosine is usually seen in energy cycles, in producing adenosine triphosphate and stuff like that. So adenosine levels, if you look at this graph here, it increases by nighttime. It increases by nighttime. So when you are ready to actually sleep, the level is the highest. So these red arrows here indicate that you're supposed to go and sleep. So of course, what we do is we don't go and sleep. We continue with our lights, and now we have something very popular, which is our device, our phones, our laptops. We love to stay up late. Yeah. So this level of adenosine is highest, and it's an indicator for you to go to sleep. As you sleep throughout the night, the levels drop, and when you're awake in the morning, the levels are minimum. Now, something else happens when you consume caffeine or caffeine-containing drinks, most popularly coffee. Now, coffee is an adenosine receptor antagonist. I'm sure you are aware of that already. So what it does is it sits on the receptors that are there for adenosine. So now adenosine cannot cause that sleepiness to kick in. Instead, you start feeling very alert. Now, some people may tell you, oh, well, no, madam, I take coffee and I can still sleep. Well, that's because sleep is a very complex activity in our body. It's just that we do not acknowledge it. Not only adenosine, there are so many other neurotransmitters and hormones that are linked to the quality of sleep. So maybe adenosine does not affect you. In this case, coffee doesn't affect you, right? But in years to come, when you are tolerant to coffee, other problems may kick in. And you cannot deny that coffee actually causes other physiological changes as well. So it's not just about the adenosine part. Yeah. Now let me take you through this flow chart here, which is I believe this flow chart is actually a wrap up of a lot of things. For example, when you have lack of sleep, right? Your ghrelin hormone increases, and this is the hormone that makes you feel hungry. So obviously you will start eating, right? Your leptin, which is supposed to tell you to stop eating, will drop. The levels of leptin will drop, right? And this lack of sleep triggers cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And that increase in cortisol also increases your ability or your liking towards eating. And there is another hormone which is called orexin, a hormone that promotes wakefulness and food intake. When this hormone kicks in because you are awake, you tend to eat. So all these hormones, hand in hand, will cause hunger and increased calorific intake. And what does that bring to? It brings towards obesity. Now, I'm not even touching about diabetes, type 2 diabetes here, right? But all of us here are scientific people. We do know that obesity is actually linked very closely with type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and whatnot. So here I'm only showing you the simple connection between lack of sleep and weight gain. All right. So I hope you can take this message one step further and link it with other health conditions that can kick in, right? So if you're ever concerned about your health, you should make changes to your sleep pattern as well, right? Okay, the brain's master clock. Now there is a switch in your brain, the light switch, because our brain has got a nucleus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. All right, so it's situated in front of the hypothalamus, and it responds to the optic nerve that gives input on light. So the melanopsin receptors in the eye, they respond to light and they send the message to the SCN or the light switch, and the light switch will trigger your pineal gland to either produce melatonin or not. Now, light will suppress melatonin production. As the daytime, as you progress into the evening and night, when the sun sets, your brain automatically tells you, okay, it's nighttime, you need to sleep. But unfortunately, in our day-to-day life, we have lights. We switch on our lights around 7 in the evening and it goes on until we're awake. So the brain gets a bit confused. It gets a bit confused and the melatonin hormone that is supposed to trigger sleep will be suppressed. All right. So light and dark relationship with our light switch in the brain and the pineal gland gets affected because of our activity. Now I think you start seeing the logic in why you should switch off the light when you sleep. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at another agent that's very important in inducing and maintaining our sleep, melatonin. Now, if you look at this graph, when you are awake from morning to evening, your melatonin level actually drops to a minimum, all right? And it starts to grow as you enter into the night. This is the zone where you're supposed to go to sleep, right? At least, I would say at least by midnight, you should fall asleep. And when you wake up in the morning, your melatonin levels actually drop. Whether you realize or not, there's a lot of supplements today with melatonin inside for people who have sleep problems, anxiety issues. So that tells you how important melatonin is to actually tone you down and prepare you for sleeping, right? So far we've seen hormones like leptin, ghrelin. We've seen a modulator called adenosine, and now we're looking at a hormone called melatonin. So these are all different players in impacting your sleep. Yeah. So basically, your switch is actually the one that resets your brain to the circadian rhythm of the world, day and night. Yeah. So when it's daytime, the switch gets inhibited. Your pineal gland stops producing melatonin or minimizes the melatonin production. And when it's night, the stimulation increases. Yeah. Okay, let's look at the sleep cycle, because when you talk about quality of sleep, then your sleep cycle becomes one important aspect. Yeah. So sleep starts with stage 1. This is between the time you go into bed and fall asleep, right? So this takes around 10 to 15 minutes. For some people, it's hours. It's hours. I know there are a lot of people out there with sleep problems. That means you're insomniacs. Later, we'll discuss, maybe if there's any questions, I can actually talk about some problems related to insomniacs. But let me continue with the sleep cycle first. So about 5 to 15 minutes later, you should be able to move into stage 2, where your heart rate slows down, your breathing gets a bit more relaxed, your brain gets a bit docile, and your brain will start doing less complicated tasks. You don't do creative or very critical thinking anymore. It starts to repair itself. It starts to clear all the neuronal waste products and stuff like that. And then delta rays start to be emitted. As you move to the third stage, this is where your body needs this stage of sleep, where all the repairs will occur. So as you can see, that's why they say when you lack sleep, everything in your body goes haywire. You start producing a lot of inflammatory mediators. Your body starts to go into an inflammatory process. You start having aches and pains everywhere. Your immune system gets affected. Yeah? Continuous lack of sleep for 3 to 4 days can actually drop your immune system very drastically. You start falling sick almost immediately. You catch a cold very easily. Body temperature and BP starts to decrease as you progress to stage 4. And stage 4 actually, it fluctuates between stage 3 to 4, 3 to 4, something like that. Okay. And finally, you move into rapid eye movement sleep. This is actually your deep sleep. Here, your eye movement actually increases, heart rate, breathing, BP, and temperature increases slightly. And then this is one cycle. So this one cycle can take around 70 minutes to 120 minutes. And then you repeat it. You go through it again. You move between the stages again and again. And your dreams actually occur in the deep sleep. Deep sleep is where all your dreams occur. And sometimes you find you have 2 or 3 dreams in one night, right? So that is actually one of the ways to confirm that you actually fluctuate towards these stages, fluctuate between these stages in your night sleep. Okay, what about other hormones? There are other hormones also that, we actually relate to, or other hormones that get released during sleep. Like I said earlier, growth hormone, okay? Antidiuretic hormone, these levels are usually higher during sleep. Melatonin is triggered when darkness sets in. So that's why when you sleep, please switch off your lights. I know some people like to switch on your lights and sleep. Even though your room is haunted, please switch off the lights and sleep, okay? All right. And then, the happy hormone called oxytocin. Okay, nowadays, people tell you this oxytocin is the hormone that it's released. It's a feel-good hormone. You get a lot of it when you hug someone or you're in love with someone. So this is the feel-good hormone. And can you see what it says here? Levels peak after 5 hours of sleep. So if you sleep for 2 hours, do you think you can be a happy person? I doubt it, right? So you need to sleep at least for more than 5 hours so that you can actually reap the benefits of oxytocin as well, right? Prolactin levels are also seen to be higher when you sleep. Yeah. So some of the conclusions that can be drawn, all right, is your pineal gland actually stops producing melatonin during daytime, or produces very minimal amounts. Adenosine accumulates during the day, and then at night, it starts to cause sleepiness to you. And sleep deprivation, ladies and gentlemen, can cause sexual dysfunction, such as erectile dysfunction, infertility, and decreased sex drive. This is explained by statistics as well. We have a lot of people today who are unable to have children. We have a lot of couples today who have sexual related issues. So these are all problems that have arisen possibly from sleep deprivation as well. Yeah. Okay. Now let's look at how we can benefit from having good sleep. Yeah. So I've talked to you about what sleep is all about. So who should sleep? I would say you, me, and everyone in this forum, all human beings are entitled to a good sleep. Okay, I hope you agree with me there. Even animals sleep. See how cute these baby ducklings are? They sleep actually, you know, a horse. Animals also sleep, right? So all multicellular animals, including humans, they deserve to sleep. They need to sleep. Yeah. All right. Sometimes we have also some animals that require very little sleep or no sleep at all. All right. Yeah. Something like this big whale here, toad. A toad also requires very minimal sleep. Elephants, giraffes, and guess what? These people also deprive themselves of sleep because they're excited with their digital devices. Now, how many of us are actually guilty of this, right? I'm not even going to talk about the blue light that is emitted by your smartphones because it brings a whole list of other health related issues, including glaucoma. So it could lead to blindness in years to come. So having the habit of sleeping with your handphone is not just about the electromagnetic waves, but it's actually about you depriving your sleep because you are engaging with something on social media or you're watching a movie, right? So this actually takes away a lot of the quality sleep time. So why should we sleep? As I showed you earlier, the brain develops itself. It creates synapses, and you know synapses are actually interlinking of neurons. So that's where your memory processing, your learning, your learning ability improves. Yeah. So all this happens during your sleep. Growth of muscles because of your growth hormone, improved immune system, hormonal balance, your hormones like leptin and ghrelin, something that maybe is very new to many of you here. Improve mood and emotional status. Oh my God. I can tell you that a lot of people who have sleep deprivation, they behave very badly the next day. They get angry for the smallest of issues. They get very edgy. I'm sure all of you relate to that. All of you could actually recall instances where you become like that. You become intolerant. You are not tolerant towards anybody. You get angry easily. So it affects your mood and emotional status, definitely. Sleeping actually promotes wound healing and repair. So if you don't do it, your wounds and your repairs, especially internally, is just going to be there. And it's going to produce more and more inflammatory mediators. And your body is going to be like, you're going to be a walking inflammation, right? And science has shown that inflammation is related to a lot of disorders today, right? And many more. Yeah. So lack of sleep. Maybe you might wonder, lack of sleep, so what? What's the big deal? Why are we talking about this? Well, because obesity is starting to increase and it's not just due to diet. I can talk to you for hours about diet and obesity, definitely. I know many of you can, but not many people actually relate sleep to obesity. Yeah, so because your habit of sacrificing your sleep will eventually end up making you obese. Yeah, so you gain weight when you don't sleep well. Your ghrelins are released, your cortisols are released. You eat, you binge eat, you eat junk food, you become obese. Yeah, your memory and cognition problems kick in. You start having a lot of memory issues. I find that even young students have memory problems these days. Yeah, I still can remember during my young days when there was no smartphone, we used to remember people's handphone numbers. Today, some people don't even remember their own handphone number. Yeah. Skin issues. You can see the lack of sleep actually triggers a lot of hormonal issues. So you start giving flare-ups of acne, yeah, heart issues because of your stress, diabetes, anyone? So a lot of people are actually contracting diabetes today, whether you know it or not. And the diabetes age of onset is actually becoming lesser. We find people in the young 20s also getting diabetes today. Depression, anyone? As I said earlier, sleeping irregularly actually affects a lot of hormones. All right. And some of these hormones are related to your mood. Your mood. So when you are down and you feel very depressed, sometimes adjusting your sleep can help you out. yeah, instead of going straight to pharmacological alternatives, yeah. Weak immune system, as I said earlier, I think during COVID, a lot of people learned their lesson the hard way. Many people actually lost their lives because the immune system was not strong. COVID was caused by a virus, and if your immune system is strong enough, you will be able to fight that virus. But because of our living standards, the way we live and the way we run our lives with dietary issues, sleep issues, we don't follow any healthy living concepts, then yeah, a lot of people actually lost their lives. Yeah. So when to sleep? Please, ladies and gentlemen, sleep at night. Yeah, sleep at night. Many of us do this mistake of staying up until 4 to 5 and then they sleep the next day, the whole day they sleep. So do you know that your cortisol and secretion is highest around 8 a.m. in the morning, which is when your body prepares yourself to handle stress. So that explains why students these days cannot handle exam stress. They can't handle it even when the professors scold them because they have got very irregular sleeping pattern. Their hormones are all jumbled up, right? The body is confused. So your coping abilities are also, affected very badly. Yeah. So please sleep at the right time, 2 to 3 hours post meal. Ensure you have your dinner around maybe 8. I know some people have their dinners around 10 and above that. So that's very bad practice. And that is also, evidence shows that that is associated with type 2 diabetes. That will kick in soon if you don't change. Yeah. No caffeine beverages for the reason that I showed you earlier. It's an adenosine receptor antagonist. So definitely it's going to affect your sleep and your relaxed mood. It's going to make you alert for no reason. No sleep depriving diets. Do not eat things that can keep you awake. I'll share with you later some of the sleep depriving diets. Yeah? And as I said earlier, we need to have pitch dark situation for you to sleep, to help you to sleep. All right? Okay. So if you want to have a good night's sleep, please avoid chocolates for the very reason that chocolates actually contain caffeine. Fibrous vegetables, because they tend to get digested. They take time to get digested and it takes a long time and it affects your quality of sleep. Yeah. Coffee, tomatoes, they are very high in tyramine, and tyramine is known to trigger the release of catecholamines in the brain. And as we know, catecholamines keep you very alert. Yeah. Meat or proteins, late night proteins actually take time for digestion. And so it will affect the quality of your sleep. And also simple sugars or carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates. Yeah? So these things actually provide energy surge. And with this glucose surge in your blood, you tend to become a bit more alert, a bit more hyper. And even if you go and sleep, you will be focusing a lot, on the digestive part. Yeah. So good news, these can help you sleep better, definitely. Sweet potato. The sweet potatoes are actually, they stimulate melatonin production. So they are something, a good thing for you to eat actually, because it stimulates melatonin. Bananas, they are high in potassium and that helps with sleep as well. Yogurt contains a lot of tryptophan. Tryptophan actually gets converted to serotonin and melatonin. So that also makes you feel very relaxed and easy to sleep. Almonds are rich in melatonin. Honey helps the brain to release melatonin as well. Milk contains a lot of tryptophan. Oats also contain tryptophan. Green tea. Okay, something to talk about green tea. Well, green tea also contains caffeine, but definitely much lesser than black tea or coffee. But it contains another ingredient called the L-theanine, which actually promotes relaxation. You can try taking green tea. Some people can't sleep when they take green tea because of the caffeine content, not because of the theanine content. But nevertheless, for those of you not affected by the minute caffeine content, you will actually get good sleep as well. So these are the things that can help you sleep better. So where to sleep? Obviously, try to fall asleep or go to bed before 12 midnight. Now, you see, I feel very compromised saying that, but I can't help it because today sleeping at 9 o'clock is how would I say, impossible? Impossible is the right word, right? So if you tell somebody go and sleep at 9 o'clock, the chances are they'll be on their phone or something until midnight anyway. So that's why I change my concept. I don't want my students to sleep at 4 a.m. Nevertheless, I try to push the time further up so that it goes close to midnight. Maybe when you're able to sleep at midnight, later on you can adjust it to maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock or something better, you know. So try to go to sleep before 12 and awake before 7 or 8 because then your body is ready for cortisol secretion, right? And you're ready for the challenges that is ahead of you. A comfortable bed, clean, neat, and tidy would be very good. I mean, some of us have got a bed that we can go to. Some of us, we roll up our bed in the daytime. Doesn't matter, but you must have a proper clean area for you to sleep, right? Don't just jump into the same bed and, you know, that you do not clean up. You jump out and then you jump in again. So the bed is always messed up because then it won't be clean. It won't be clean and it will give you some sort of like, it will affect your sleep quality, right? Sometimes you get a bit itchy. I don't know whether you realize this, but when you're asleep, you actually shed a lot of skin, right? So it's good for you to get out of bed in the morning and clean your bed, actually, dust your bed, fold up all your sheets, and then, you know, continue with the daily activities. So have a comfortable bed, clean, neat, and tidy. Switch off the lights. Darkness promotes good sleep because of the melatonin effect I've already shared with you earlier. So if you are a person who's very afraid of pitch darkness, maybe you can have a cat's eye, but ensure that it's not a very bright one, right? Sleep and wake up at a regular time. Have a regular regime for sleeping and waking up because you will see a world of difference when you do this. If you correct your sleep pattern now and later you try adjusting your diet as well, definitely you will be able to lose those extra kilos that you have gained because of the malpractice. All right. That's why I strictly name this talk sleep to slimness, because without realizing you're actually not sleeping. That's why you're moving towards obesity. Right. Now that you realize it, then you can adjust this in your favor. So how to get a good night's sleep? Have a bedtime routine. That means, you know how people wind down around 10 o'clock, you start relaxing. You don't do any work related paperwork or computer related works. You start reading or you take a glass of milk. You wind down. You don't watch movies that trigger a lot of emotions. You know, you start having a good bedtime routine or routine. Wind down. That's very important. Some of us come back from work and we are still wound up. We are still ready to work from home. You know, we are working around the clock. Switch off. Here, when I say switch off, I mean not only the devices, but also your attention or your brain. You have to switch off at one point. Relax. If any pressing matters come up, you have to make the choice that I will handle this tomorrow when I'm awake. There's always a tomorrow. It cannot be that there's no tomorrow, right? So switch off. And most importantly, switch off your devices, because as long as your laptop is open on your table, your body will have that attraction to go and sit in front of it. And then you start opening one by one the files, you know. So switch off, very important aspect. Device free. Make it a habit that when you go to bed, you're not taking a device with you. Not just for the electromagnetic waves per se, but also because of the habit. When you have the device and let's say you can't fall asleep in the first 10 minutes, you straight away will take the phone and start to check. When you check your Facebook, you start commenting, you start reacting. So obviously your sleep gets deprived. So have a device-free sleep session. Yeah. Neat and tidy bed, as I said earlier, your bed has to be clean so your body feels good. It feels relaxed. Yeah. Invest in a good pillow. A lot of us actually sleep on either very flat pillows or very bulky ones that can cause neck ache. So go do some research on what is a suitable pillow, right? Invest in it. You don't need a very bulky pillow. You just need a pillow that takes the gap between your shoulder and your neck. That size will do. So invest one time in a good pillow, and then you should be on the way to good sleep. So some of the sleep variables in conclusion, yeah, some of the sleep variables, light, having light and not having light, all right? Having comfort like, fan in your room or air conditioning, all right? So the thing is, try to have a good routine of sleeping. Sleep at night, right? Eat healthy. Because diet, as I showed earlier, the kind of foods that can deprive your sleep, um, it can actually really take away your sleep, affect your sleep quality. Yeah. So pay attention to your diet. Meditation. A lot of us are in yoga right now, right? I'm also a yoga practitioner. I would highly recommend yoga and meditation. Breathing exercises. It can relax you tremendously, right? Exercise. Do a good portion of exercise, like the recommendation of guidelines are about 150 minutes per week. You can space this out into 3 times a week or 5 times a week, depending on yourself, and find out what is suitable for your body. You may be a person who's very thin. Maybe you can choose the kind of exercises that does not focus on weight loss. If you are someone who's obese and you're focusing on weight loss, look for regimes that actually can burn your extra fat. Yeah. Relax your mind. At the end of the day, a relaxed mind will be able to promote good sleep. Now, let me share with you something that happens in Malaysia. Now, before the pandemic, that is, before the COVID pandemic, Malaysia is a place that you can find restaurants running 24 hours, 24 eating outlets, 24 hours eating outlets. So what happens is, any one time, if you're in a college or hostel or you're living with a bunch of friends, there'll be someone who'll say, like, hey, come on, let's go have some supper. Supper is like a famous thing for us here. And because we can get different cuisines, Malaysia is a heterogeneous country. You find Malays, Chinese, Indians, and nowadays we find a lot of expatriates as well. We find people from Arab, people from South Africa. So we have a lot of races living in this particular country. So we find different cuisines available, right? So when we go out for supper, you are spoiled for choices. You can choose anything and everything. It's just available. And the restaurants are usually packed. You go at 12 midnight, they're packed. You go at 2 a.m., they're packed. Because people just love to hang out. And because they have a very heavy work schedule, they hang out by sacrificing their sleep, which is very unhealthy. And thus, Malaysia is also one of the top countries for obesity in Southeast Asia. We are number one. I'm not proud to say that, but I'm just telling you, you see the link? See the connection? Yeah. So the COVID pandemic, in a way, actually stopped all those 24 hours eating outlet activities. So people started staying indoors and maybe they started eating a lot at home. So obesity is still our issue here. It's still our issue. So take home message for today, right? You must sleep. So please value sleep as how you value your smartphone, how you value your parents, how you value your education, how you value your money. Value your sleep too. You must sleep, all right? Sleep right. Follow my tips. Take it from today onwards and do it right. Sleep right. Eat right. Relax, because the world is actually not about you and me. Okay? If anything was to happen to me today, this very moment, I cannot find, I don't think anybody will be sitting and crying for 1 year, or even 1 month, or even a week. You may be crying for a few hours, but after that, you may think that, well, life goes on. She has passed on. She's gone to somewhere better. We have to eat. We'll feel hungry. We have to live, right? So life actually goes on. So you and I are not the most important thing in the world. We are not even bigger than this universe. So relax, okay? Try to take things easy. It's not the end of the world, right? On the days that I wake up feeling a bit low-key, I always tell myself that this is temporary. This is for today. Tomorrow, I'll be happy again. Because our hormones are such, especially if you're a female, you have got this cyclical thing every month, so you have got sexual hormones affecting you. You've got thyroid hormone affecting you. I don't know whether you realize this. Hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism both can cause depression. You go and check it out. So can you see that the window of normal range that you need to actually keep it within? So depression can kick in anytime, but it's how you condition your mind, and you continue, all right? Continue doing things that are right. So relax, switch off. You must learn how to switch off, because I know that many of us buy our smartphones and we never switched it off once. Never. It's alive just like how we are alive. I mean, a switch off for humans would mean that we're dead. So our smartphones rarely die unless we forget to charge it, right? We never deliberately switch it off. So maybe we should try, sometimes like after 11 or something, we tell our colleagues, okay, sorry, at 11 o'clock, I switch off my devices. Anything, you can contact me in the morning. I think we have to learn to work like this, yeah? And people, ladies and gentlemen, breathe, yeah? Many of us actually do not realize how we breathe. Only when we watch a YouTube video on pranayama, then suddenly you become aware of your breathing. Most of us breathe shallowly, very shallow breathing, just up here. So your lungs are not actually extracting enough oxygen for all your cells. So please focus on your breathing as well. Your life, you live only once. So splurge yourself with healthy living so that you live a good quality of life, all right? So that is all for my talk today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Chalapati Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences for inviting me to share my opinions with you guys today. It is an honor for me. And I'm so happy to share this because it is an eye-opener. A lot of people do not know much about sleep. And it's often seen as the most unimportant activity of the day. And I hope this will change, right? I hope I'm the advocate for that change in you. Thank you so much, Professor Narendra. Dr. Nalini, back to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Students, so is there any questions?
Good morning, madam. I'm Jay Krishna.
Hi, Mr. Jay Krishna.
Madam, I have few doubts regarding the session.
Yes,
so,
sure.
One of them is, can we sleep for 12 to 14 hours if a person is having cardiac problems or something like that? So, it is because in the sleep cycle, you shared for us that fourth and fifth stages of sleep cycle reduces the heart rate. So, is it advisable for the heart patients to stay in sleep for 12 to 14 hours so that their dose is...
Sorry for interrupting. Continue, sir. Is that all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Sorry for interrupting you suddenly. All right. Actually, the body needs definitely studies wise, it's about 7 to 8 hours sleep a day, right? But in my recommendation, what I would say is you are the owner of your body. So you should know very well how many hours of sleep actually enables you to function well and normal. And I mean not compromised function. That means you're feeling stressed, but you're still functioning. It's not like that. You're functioning with a well-being. That means you're happy, you're calm, you're not edgy. Yes, so you should tune your body according to that. Now, coming back to heart patients. Now, heart patients, most of the time, they are already on some medication, which is helping them to actually cope with their heart problems. Now, I would recommend them to sleep, yes, about up to 8 hours. They do not need to oversleep. Have you ever tried to sleep more than 12 hours in a day? Mr. Jay Krishna, right? No. Unfortunately, you didn't get the chance. Okay. I've done that sometimes. And I find that when you oversleep, you become worse than when you undersleep. oversleeping is just as bad as undersleeping. So that's why you need just the right hours of sleep. The rest, which are good for heart patients, would be the diet, the exercises, the stress reliever mechanisms like yoga, meditation, so much more. So sleep is good for you to, get your neuronal recharge, reset and everything, but it's not necessary for you to sleep up to 14 hours just so that your heart actually repairs itself. No, I would not recommend it.
Okay, ma'am. One more question. So if a
Yeah.
person is asked to stay in a closed and dark room for 7 to 10 days, so when will the melatonin releases, ma'am?
Oh my God, that is so bad. Okay. One thing happens is your melatonin feedback. If, for example, now you're in a dark room, right? Your melatonin levels will shoot up, right? And actually, before that, can I ask you, why would someone stay in a dark room for 7 to 8 days?
Let it be an experiment, ma'am. For example.
Oh, okay. Well, if you are going to be in a dark room for 7 to 8 hours, that will actually disrupt a lot of physiological function in your body, because melatonin is not the only hormone that reacts to the circadian rhythm. I think all of us know that, right? There are a lot of other hormones. So if you're going to study the melatonin alone, you have to address all the other confounding factors, like, for example, your cortisol. Right? Your cortisol secretions, your thyroid hormone secretions, sexual hormones, your ghrelin, your leptin, everything will be affected. So I would say that your melatonin levels would be high, definitely would be high. But at the end of the 7 to 8 days, I'm not sure. And if you ask me about 7 to 8 days, would you be able to sleep throughout? I don't think so. Because your body cannot sleep just because of melatonin effect alone. It has got other mechanisms that actually trigger the sleep as well.
One more thing, ma'am. Actually, diabetic patients are asked to eat number of times taking small proportions.
Correct.
So what kind of side effects, or what is the actual type of sleep cycle they have?
Okay.
Or advised to have?
Okay. The only different sleep cycle that I would recommend is for people who work shifts. For example, when you work a night shift, some operators in the factories, some factory workers, they actually work the night shift. Some customer care companies, they actually work the night shift, right? So people who work night shift, yes, they have to now adjust their circadian rhythm in such a way that the body recognizes the daytime as night. And they're supposed to sleep in the daytime, which many people fail to do. That's why they end up sick, that's why their liver function gets affected and all. But for diabetics, they have to eat smaller portions. And as you know, as I showed earlier, there are types of foods that are actually high in tryptophan, which can actually promote good sleep. If you have to take small amounts of such things, then I would recommend that you don't eat a total meal per se. You can snack on maybe a biscuit. It's a high fiber biscuit, a cookie or something like that, instead of eating a proper meal at 12 midnight. So try to take smaller portions, but smaller portions of things that can promote your sleep nearer to your sleeping hours. Away from the sleeping hours, it doesn't matter. For example, if you're having coffee at 4 p.m., doesn't matter. But try not to have it at 10 p.m. 10 p.m., maybe milk is a better counterpart. Maybe yogurt is a better counterpart. Low sugar, low fat yogurt, So that will actually help them to sleep and relax. So this is my recommendation.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Krishna.
Speaking to you or is okay, sir? I can't speak to students anymore.
Can I add something here, Prof. Narendra?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, since I told you a good quality sleep actually promotes loss of weight, slimness, and all that, please don't try to get sleep by eating medications, like sleeping pills and stuff like that, or even consuming alcohol just to sleep. Okay, so that is not going to help you. If that's what you're going to do, then the whole session today to understand the mechanics of sleep has not benefited you. That is something very disappointing for me. So sleep has to come naturally. If you're unable to sleep, you have to investigate why you're unable to sleep, right? And so, for example, like some people, they have got problems in their mind, they've got issues that are bugging them. Maybe it's work related, maybe it's financial issues, maybe anything at all, right? Children related issues, maybe health related issues. So as long as you keep cooking this thought in your mind, you're not going to fall asleep. So that's why just now when I said relax, I actually meant that you have to close the chapter of your problems for a while, at least every day. Close it down, wind down, sleep, think about it tomorrow. Because if you keep thinking about it 24 hours, you're not going to get good sleep and you're going to become worse. You're going to bring more problems for you to think about in future. And some people easily resort to alcohol. They say, if I consume alcohol, I can sleep. Those of you out there who are pertinent alcohol drinkers, you drink on a daily basis, you notice that when you wake up in the morning, you have hangover. That's one thing. Sometimes you don't even have a good night's sleep. You wake up in between intermittently many times. So that tells you alcohol is not your solution either. And if you go further and do some more reading on alcohol molecules and how they actually affect the liver cells, you should stop drinking immediately. Drinking for, some studies show that wine is good, right? Drinking in moderation, drinking things like wine in moderation, yes, it's shown to help health, but not drinking on a daily basis. And some people drink until they do not know what's happening. They fall asleep so easily, but they don't get good quality sleep. That's not going to help you with obesity management. That's not going to help you. So if you're having sleep issues, I would recommend you to study back at what is your daily routine. What are the mistakes that you're making which is actually costing you your sleep? Are you a coffee lover such that you take 5-6 cups of coffee a day and one of it actually happens to be at night? Or are you a person who eats a lot of meat at night? You try to look back at your scheduling, at your lifestyle. I'm sure you'll come up with some solutions that can help you sleep better. And if for those of you who have a lot of problems thinking, you're always thinking, I would recommend pranayama meditation. Really helps. It really helps. Okay, putting on a nice soft music, getting your mind conditioned, controlling your breathing. In fact, pranayama has helped with blood pressure controls as well. So I think those are the things that you should be going towards, not alcohol and not sleeping tablets, not even those sedative antihistamines. No, I would recommend totally against them. Yeah. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah. Thank you. Now, students, any more questions?
Okay. Hi, Dr. Bama, madam. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
So very, very good. Really, I enjoyed the talk, madam. Actually, it's very good, very informative talk. So I wonder, I heard from some source, suppose someone is practicing meditation. So even the person who practices meditation, even the less sleep can help. I mean, even less sleep can make the person to be more active. Is there any relation between doing meditation and sleep?
Actually, that's very true. That's why just now, you see that I try not to tell you that you need 7 to 8 hours sleep a day, because it really depends on your mental status and your body. And meditation can actually help reduce the number of hours of sleep that you need, because when you meditate, you are automatically bringing your body down. You're actually bringing it into a semi-sleep state. And so that actually rejuvenates your body, right? So of course, there's no hard and fast rule that says that you can reduce it to 3 hours or 4 hours. Or no, it's not like that. Somehow it comes back to you. You have to see how you are functional with that amount of sleep, right? If with that number of hours you are functional means not you're doing it because you have to. Functional means you're doing it happily. you're going to work happily, you're in good mood, you're happy. I believe that all of us, we are going to work because we need to find some sort of source of income. But that source of income is just one part of life. The other part is always our family, our friends, eating healthy, smiling, having a good day. That counts more. So if you are able to go through a day like that, that means the sleep you're having is good sleep, good quality sleep. It's not causing any edginess to you. And meditation, yes, has shown to help because it also helps with the release of some waves in your mind that actually relaxes your brain. So yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
Welcome, sir.
Yes, any more questions? Any further?
Madam, good morning, madam.
Yes, sir.
I am Rajnikant, working as professor in Chalapati Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences.
Wow, Professor, I'm sure everybody loves you because you're Rajinikanth.
Madam, they loved you today, madam. Really,
Okay.
your session was so much inspiring, and I think today they will take some message home that we should have at least the minimum hours of sleep, so that they could concentrate on the education part as well as the co-curricular as well as extracurricular activities.
Correct, sir. Correct.
Thank you for your nice presentation, madam. I have a small query that is from the students' perspective. Usually during an examination, they do a overnight work. So how far this routine practice is going to affect them on a long-term basis?
Okay, very good, very relevant question for your students, Professor Rajinikanth.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me share with you this experience, okay? When I was in my early undergraduate years, I used to do the same mistake. I used to burn the midnight oil. That means tomorrow I have an exam paper, tonight I'll be studying like crazy, like there's no tomorrow. And I don't sleep. Sometimes I don't sleep because I feel that if I sleep, I will not wake up on time. So many students do this. But today, I mean, after so many years, when you look back, those are mistakes. And why are they mistakes? Because back then, I didn't have anybody to share this information with me, like what I'm sharing with you. So students, please do not burn the midnight oil like that for exams. What you should be doing is, you should start your study practice or schedule from day one. What most of the students do is, they keep everything for 2 or 3 days before the exam, which is very wrong. Learning process is something that is continuous and it should be done periodically. Periodic reminders should be there. So if you're planning to excel in exams, you should set a target of at least nicely, from the beginning of your semester, few months before the exam. Then you do a lot of revision, a lot of exercises, a lot of reading. That will enhance your mental acuity as well as memory because you're doing repeated studies. When you sit and pause everything in overnight, there is a one danger of when you sit for the exam, suddenly you have a blackout. It has happened to many students. You have a blackout, you don't remember one thing, you forget everything. One trigger goes blank and everything is gone. So I've had students who go to the exam hall, come out crying because they forgot everything. Suddenly their brain jammed. Because your brain is tired, it's so tired and fatigued. And as I told you, all the neuronal waste is all circulating in the brain. So how are you going to have proper, recalling? Memory involves recalling. It's like you put certain information in certain folders and you need to take it out. So you need to recall where you put it. So for that, you need continuous learning from day one, right? Well, undergraduate years, I made big mistakes. I mean, I did the same mistakes students are doing, studying overnight and all. But fortunately, when I studied my master's, I set my targets much earlier. I've got, a succession plan such that, I've listed all the topics that I want to study. And then I give myself hours to do the revision. I give myself enough buffer before exam. So I don't have to study overnight. And students, let me give you another tip. It's very important to find out what type of a learner are you. Are you an auditory learner? Or are you a kinesthetic learner? Or are you a visual learner? If you are a visual learner, you need to see diagrams. You cannot see words. You must see diagrams. So flow charts, tables, these are the better way for you to memorize things. If you are an auditory learner, you need to record your notes and listen to them continuously. While you're waiting for your pass, while you're having dinner, you just listen to them continuously, all right? If you're a kinesthetic learner, you need to write notes. You need to draw things. You need to do things with your fingers, with your physical. So that's how you need to enhance the intake of information into your mind. You need to have multi-sensory intake of information. Then only you can actually excel. Burning the midnight oil before exam is not going to help you. In fact, if you have back-to-back exams, you're going to flunk in your second and third papers, definitely, because your brain is going to accumulate fatigue. When the brain is fatigued, you cannot do anything. I'm sure many of you all experienced that brain jam. You call it brain jam. You've been reading and reading and reading, and suddenly nothing goes in. You're reading, but it's not going in. That's called brain jam. So students, try to prevent that from happening in your lives, okay? Take it from me, with my experience and what I've done personally. I'm sharing with you today. So please refrain from making this mistake. All right. If you have exams coming in few months' time, start now. Start now. I have a student who until today, I recall this student. I taught him 10 years back. This student is now a professor in Australia. You know what he does one day before exam? He goes to the movies. He goes to the cinema. So when I ask him, hey, everybody is studying, why are you not studying? What are you doing in the cinema? And he tells me, madam, I already covered everything. Now is my time to relax. So his mind is actually now relaxing so that the recall process will be easy. So that when he recalls the information, it will be easy for him. So students, you should do that too. You can be excellent if you start doing something like that. Yeah, thank you, Prof. Rajini. I think that's my answer for your question.
Thank you, Dr. Menon.
I see someone raising their hands. Miss Vindhya.
Yes, good morning, ma'am. Can you hear? Yeah, am I audible for you?
Yes, very, very.
Yeah, your session is very, very beautiful, ma'am. And I have taken much of the information from your session. And one of my queries is, so nowadays the technology is foremost running. So all the people who are educated, most of them are technologists. So most of the time they are spending their time on the computers. So how does this, so viewing the computer for most of the time, the eyes will be strained and it's interrelated with the brain also. So how it is affected for the sleep activity and what may be the sleeping habits that the technologists should follow nowadays, ma'am?
Okay, very good question.
Because most of them, once they go to the bed, they doesn't get the sleep because most of the time they are seeing the computer screen and they have much effect on the brain.
So most of the people who are on the smartphones or on the laptops all the time, when you close your eyes, also you see the laptop screen, right? Because your brain has actually photographically taken it, Okay. Now, let me ask you something. How important is your life to you? How important is your life to you?
Most important.
Very important, right? And you have one chance to live in this world as Miss Vindhya. You have one chance to live as Vindhya, right? I have one chance to live as Bama, right? So this one chance that I get, why do I need to slog around for 24 hours and lose the peace and the family time and the health that I have? So what I'm trying to say here is everybody must have that the end of their work on that day. The end. Okay. Now, see, I have a very bad habit. See, when people call meetings for lunchtime, I'm a person who don't sacrifice my lunch or my meal time and my sleep time. So when people call me for lunch meets, I always ask them, is lunch provided, because lunch is very important for me. Dinner is very important for me. So I don't like meetings or activities that cover during essential activities like eating. You're supposed to eat peacefully. So you're not supposed to have meetings during eating time, right? So similarly, you must have the end for you at the end of the day. When you want to do some computer related work, you have to have a cutoff. Are you going to stop at 8 o'clock? Are you going to stop at 9 o'clock? You must stop at one point, because continuous staring into the laptop is not healthy for the eyes. Trust me, statistics will prove this in years to come. We will have more glaucoma patients, we will have more blindness in the world because of this blue light. Yeah. So you must have a cutoff time. Let's say just now when I said wind down, and then you saw the word switch off, that was referring to all these gadgets. You must have a switch off time. All right. So I know some of us have got commitments because we need to finish certain things by deadlines and all that. But do you also reflect on yourself whether have you done enough organizing of your work? Are you well organized, or are you living like an accident? If you're well organized, you would have put your work in an organized timetable. That means you know that you need to send this work in 5 days. Then you should start working on it, not keeping it for the last day and then working throughout the night. Just like what I told the students just now. Everything has got a planning. Those ladies out here, you cook at home, you prepare meals for your family, you clean your house, and then you come to work. Do you know how much of organized behavior that requires? You have to think about every single person, what they eat, what they don't eat, who to pack food for, and what to pack and how to pack it, how to clean your house. So much of organized behavior in us. So human beings are actually very organized organisms, So if we choose to be organized, we can actually organize our work life and our personal life. There are choices that we must make, decisions that we must make. If you say, after 8, I'm not going to touch my laptop, I'm not going to entertain all this work, then do it like that. Set it in such a way. Then I think you will be a happy person. By the time you go to bed at midnight, you will already be relaxed because you're not looking at any screens. And when I say you have to switch off, doesn't mean you switch off your laptop and you go to TV. It's basically a bigger screen, right? You switch off your phone, you switch off your laptop, and you move to the TV. Try to do some other engaging activities like, play a board game with your family, read a book, read an article, try to do a crossword puzzle, something that relaxes your mind, something that just makes you, or listen to music, maybe. Okay, so set a cutoff time. It can be 8 o'clock, it can be 10 o'clock. It depends on you. I'm not going to preach something that you have to adjust in your life, because only you know how your household is, how many people in your house, what you need to do for them. Like I'm a married woman with 2 children. I have a dog. I have a career. So I have to manage all this in 24 hours, and everybody has only 24 hours. So manage things, managing skills. What we should be managing is our lives, not stress, not anger. These 2 things don't exist, right? We should be managing our life, becoming more organized, placing priorities on certain things. We need to prioritize, right? So I hope I answered you well, Ms. Vindhya.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you a lot.
Welcome.
Yeah. So with this, we close our session. Very much on behalf of our Department of Pharmacology, Leptin Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, we are thankful to you, madam, for giving such a nice presentation regarding the sleep, as well as its variables and what are the precautions has to be taken. If there is a disturbed sleep, it is very much interesting, madam. And I hope you'll be continuing the same support at our institute. So on behalf of our college, once again, I'm thankful to you, madam. Thank you much. So I'm ending the session, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Narendra. Thank you to the Dean of the Institute of Chalapati. I would say I'm very honored to share all this with you guys, and I hope it changes your life too. Yeah, and I hope you have a good future ahead of you. Thank you. Blessed day ahead. And with this, I end my session with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.